It reminds me a lot of Samurai Jack. So episode 2, that's a much more different episode than the first one. To summarize episode 2, it reminds me a lot of Samurai Jack. If you're unfamiliar with Samurai Jack, it's a cartoon that came on Cartoon Network that revolves around a samurai trying to destroy a demon named Aku. Why it reminds me of Samurai Jack? It's because there's a lot of silent and samurai themes to it, which we'll go into later. Episode 2 starts off with the Mandalorian realizing that his ship's been destroyed and he needs to buy parts to get his ship back in order. He realized that he has to go trade with those aliens. Again, I cannot remember their name for the life of me. Those little hooded creatures with the red eyes. There's a fight scene in there where he tries to board their roving ship, which is pretty funny. It's kind of Buster Keaton-y in some points. And of course, he realizes that the best way to deal with him is just to try to negotiate a deal. The deal was for him to capture, or at least try to catch, an egg from what looks like a rhino beast, return it to them, and then they will exchange the egg for his parts. Very simple storyline. There's just a lot of silent moments in it, a lot of visuals. So there's really not a lot of story to go into. So in terms of summary, there's not a lot to be said. Episode 2, I think, was a little bit better executed. The computer graphics, especially with that rhino creature, was a little bit more well done than all the metallic spaceship work that was done in the first episode. Also, what I was immediately noticeable to me in the second episode is there was less dialogue. And I feel like there was less dialogue because they wanted to hammer out the other influence that plays a lot into the Star Wars mythos, and that is the samurai culture and samurai films in general.
でもな、俺が切られてもこいつらは切るなよ。お前たちもどんなことがあっても手を出すな。
We all know that the way Vader looks and the way sword fighting is all based on Japanese samurai culture. In the second episode, to lean a little bit more heavier into the samurai lore as opposed to leaning into the Western lore into the first episode. And there was a lot of visual elements that would suggest to me that that's what he was doing. The concept of a character that didn't really talk a lot. In a lot of samurai films, you encounter this character there's always a hindrance to him dealing with humanity or how he interacts with other people. Zatoichi, the blind swordsman, he's blind. That's his setback. In the way they portrayed him in this one, the Mandalorian doesn't communicate with others too well. No, he's not a mute, but he just doesn't communicate with others too well. And in this episode, it presented him the opportunity to just travel alone and do his thing. Another good thing that I think Jon Favreau did in the second movie, and this is something a lot of people won't get, he hinted on a samurai series that came on in the 70s called Lone Wolf and Cub. Now, with Lone Wolf and Cub, it's about a 6-part film. Very, very entertaining, very, very violent. If you've never seen Lone Wolf and Cub, that's where Tarantino gets most of his concept from Kill Bill, including blood sporting out of people. The concept of that is there's a Ronin, I can't remember his name, but the wolf. His wife is murdered by a tribe of daimos, and he goes on a revenge streak with his infant son, which he carries around in a crib, thus Lone Wolf and Cub. And every person that he meets and he battles it out, it is an epic samurai battle. It's really, really good. If you guys never seen it, it's probably be a little bit hard to find, but Lone Wolf Cup is really good. Anyway, I digress. In second episode, there was a lot of hint visually of Jon Favreau citing Lone Wolf and Cub as influence for this episode. One being the Yoda-like creature being an infant in a crib, and two, the Mandalorian being a sketchy, very dangerous character who's out to do things with an infant on him, with him. And I really appreciate that. That was a good nod to the samurai influence that really permeates Star Wars that you don't see a lot of anymore in the most recent films. So with that being said, thumbs up Jon Favreau. I love samurai films like I love kung fu movies, and that little hint was a good wink to us. So thank you, dude. The negative thing in episode 2, the Nick Nolte character. I think that's a Nick Nolte character, but he's kind of odd to me. I don't like him.
They really don't like you for some reason.
Maybe because I'm not really fond of Nick Nolte. But the way he executed that character, not for me. It was a bad taste in my mouth. It's almost like a Yoda-esque type deal, and it's not fitting my view of how this should go. So I'm hoping they're done with him with episode 2. He might pop up again later because I feel like he played a prominent role in the character arc of the Mandalorian, but I didn't like that. Not for me. Not for me. Now, if they used Gary Busey, that might have been a whole different thing. That might have been a whole different experience.
Yeah.
But nah, I didn't like it. I'll pass on that. Also, the pacing was better in the second episode, sorry. The slow pacing and the deliberate scenes of, you seeing what's actually going on, I liked it a lot. Especially with the hint of the Force happening, but none of them knowing. I thought that was pretty cool. So overall, the first 2 episodes, I would give it 7 out of 10. There's some parts that could be done much better, but there's parts that are actually done really well. And if you're a fan, you wouldn't be disappointed. If you're not a fan, this might not be for you, because they hint on a lot of backstory that if you don't know anything about it, you probably won't get it. And if you're not that versed into, reading films and the little hints and tricks that they do to let the audience know what they're trying to get across visually, like, this is based on Spartan culture, yada yada, or that this scene was actually cut from a Lone Wolf and Cub samurai flick. But if you like Star Wars and you like that world, then this would be good. I don't see why it could be a bad thing. Jon Favreau makes great films, except Lion King. But I would watch it some more. I think it's a 8-episode series, so we're just on episode 2. I plan on doing reviews on all episodes, so keep watching as I watch them and talk about them with you guys. So till then, see you guys on the flip.